Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday. Today I'm going to discuss another interesting topic about Coinbase API. Well, if you're familiar with my channel, this is my channel. I have several playlists. One of the playlists I actually discuss about how to call Coinbase Pro API, whether using JavaScript, Python, Java, C# or Android. Several people have asked me to do the same thing for Coinbase API. So today's video, I'm going to actually discuss about that. In reference to that, if you have not looked at one of these videos, I would highly recommend please take some time to look at least this video right here, the one that talks about how to call Coinbase Pro REST API using the several different programming languages, which is this one right here. Because in that video, I talk about, how to create the Coinbase Pro free account and then download the software, and we're going to use a lot of those software in this video today as well. Okay, so let's get started. Even though I mentioned about this interesting video about how to call Coinbase Pro REST API using various programming languages, please note that this is not a prerequisite. I just mentioned this to actually show you the different links that I mentioned here. I'm going to use the exact same links for today's tutorial as well. Okay, the very first thing we want to do is we wanted to create a Coinbase account. Now, please feel free to use this referral link. Using that link, you'll get paid, I'll get paid as well. So it's a win-win situation. Okay, once you click on this link, you'll get something like this. So put your information and create an account. Now, Coinbase is a very secure exchange in the United States, actually. So I would suggest after you create an account, turn on the dual factor authentication to keep your account secure. And at the same time, if you're going to use the API, you probably have to run through their KYC, the know your customer thing. So you have to give them your license information and other identification to make sure that it's you. All right, so that's the basic. Once you have the account, then we'll do the fun stuff. Just a disclaimer, this is not a financial advice, so please do your own research. And also, I do not work for Coinbase. So just to let you know. Okay, the next step is basically you'll have an account, then you want it to log in. And that would look something like this. So once you have an account, you'll get a prompt, you put your username and password, and you click on sign in. And of course, if you have two-factor authentication, they typically do it via Google Authenticator or I think via the SMS. You can choose either one, just do it to keep your account secure. So once you log in, you should see something like this. All right, if you have bought some assets, you will see it. If you didn't, that's fine. But basically, you get a screen like this, and there's a whole bunch of links on the left, whole bunch of stuff on the top, and there's this little profile icon. What you want to do is you want to create the API keys. So you're going to click on this icon right here and then click on the settings. Okay. Once you do that, that should bring you a screen like this with a whole bunch of tabs. The tab you're interested in is API. So you're going to click on that tab. You'll see two sections here. One is the API keys. The other one is my OAuth 2 applications. You were interested in the API keys because you wanted to create the key for yourself, and you wanted to do the program by yourself and wanted to connect to your account through the program using this API key. The My OAuth 2 is basically if you are some kind of vendor or if you're creating any own application where you want several other customers of you to log in through your application to Coinbase, then you would need something like this. But for our purpose right here, we're just gonna create an API keys. So the next thing is you're going to click on this new API key icon right here. Once that happens, of course, it will ask you for your two-factor authentication code, which you put. Once you put it, then you get a screen like this. This is basically where you decide exactly what are the wallets that you wanted to retrieve. That's the first thing. And then you're also going to get what type of permissions you really want your API to have. Like, do you want to read the wallet? Do you want to create a wallet? Do you want to do some kind of trade? All kinds of things. For our purpose right now, it doesn't matter. You can just go select everything. So I'm going to go back a little bit. I selected all here, as you could see, and you can scroll down a little bit on that dialog box and select all here as well. So just keeping things pretty simple. Of course, you can have a notification URL. You can leave that blank. Don't worry about it. And you can even go as far as allow only your IP address to use the API. If you're gonna do it seriously, maybe you want to put that IP address. For now, leave it empty. We'll allow everything. So just, for our purpose, I kept it empty. Just click on create. Once you click on create, then you get this screen, and this is very important. Okay, you only get this screen once. You get an API key and API secret. Write it down, take a picture of it, save it, do whatever you need to do, because you're never going to see the API secret ever again. Once it's gone. You have to delete or maybe recreate it or create another one. So just note it down, your API key and API secret. You will see your API key, but you will never be able to see API secret. So just know that. And by default, you will see that this is disabled, right? It's kind of interesting. Well, there's a reason behind it. What happens is, just to be secure, Coinbase will hold on to this API key for 48 hours before enabling it. Because hackers can just, hack into your account, create your API key, and then, stay behind in the background. And then as needed basis, they can just go hack into your account, log in, and steal your fund. So that's why I think they have done this. So just to keep you safe. You probably have to wait 48 hours. There's nothing else anyone can do. So after you do all this, you wait 2 days and then come back. Within that 48 hours, you will get an email, something like this, that will say that, hey, your API has been created, but it will remain disabled for the next 48 hours, as I just told you. And then you may also get a text message, kind of looking like this, that says that, hey, you're going to have to wait 48 hours. Your API key will remain disabled. So you just bear with that. Then once everything is said and done, 48 hours is over, this is how your API will look like when you come back. It will be enabled, and now you will be able to use it, and you are ready for it completely. The next thing is, if you scroll down on that same API page, you'll get a whole bunch of links. Of course, if you click on any one of them, I'm going to click on right here, that'll take you to the documentation, of course. And here you get to learn all about their API. Now, of course, feel free to go through this documentation as you wish, because they have different wallet endpoints, how to get a list of users, accounts, addresses, transactions. So they give you the actual REST API request paths. So you feel free to look at that if you want. But I'm not going to go through the details since it's boring. I'm just going to show you how to do it. Another thing I want to mention is, as part of the API call, we have to pass an API version if you want to. If you don't pass an API version, by default, you will just use the latest version. So the API version is nothing but a date. So the latest one, as you could see, is November 12th of last year. But in my code, you will see that I'm using a little older version of the API. There's a reason behind it, because this version, for whatever reason, they don't have a quick way to show value of the coin that you have. So the older version that I use, it has a very easier way of showing it. That's why. That's the only reason. But it doesn't matter. You can use this version as well. You just will not be able to use. There's something called native balance in there. The next step is to install all of the required software. The very first thing you want to do is, if you don't already have it, install the Visual Studio Code, and here's the link. And all of this link, I will put it in the video's description below, so you can get it from there. It's also going to be in the GitHub. Alright, so you need Visual Studio Code, get your version, and then if you're going to use the JavaScript version, of course, you're going to need a node. So install node. If you can also use Python, get the latest Python, so it's the link right here. If you want to use .NET, you're going to have to download the .NET SDK, so that's this link right here. And if you want to use Java, then you're going to need a couple of things. One is you're going to need the OpenJDK version 17, just this right here you can download. And you're going to need the latest version of Maven, which you can download for here. All of these are open source, or those are free software that you can download if it's not open source. Okay, so now you have the software. What's the next step? The next step is basically to get the code that is already on GitHub. Well, in my case, I'm gonna open my command prompt on Windows and I put all of my projects in there, so that's where I am. And then you wanted to check out the code by using git clone. Here's the GitHub link, and of course this link will also be in the description below that you can copy it from. So once you do it, hit enter, and of course you're gonna be able to check out. Now I already have it, so I'm not gonna do it again. So I'm just gonna go to that directory called Coinbase right here, and then I'm gonna launch my Visual Studio Code, which is right here, as you could see. And then once you open it, you will see that there is a folder for C#, there's a folder for Java, folder for JavaScript, and a folder for Python. That has each of its corresponding code that you're gonna have to update a little bit and then just run it. Okay, the only thing you need to update, by the way, I'm gonna start with the JavaScript version, expand that. There's a file called cb.js. What you want to do is each of those files, you will see that you have to put your access key, and then you're gonna have to put your secret. Now where do you get these access keys and secret? If you recall, this API key and secret, this is where you get it. I hope you wrote it down and you have it saved somewhere. So that's what you're gonna be using. All right, anyways, you update this key and a secret, and the next thing is then you run it. That's all you gotta do. So I typically use this terminal right here, and here I'm gonna go to a little bit more to JavaScript, like that. And then next thing you want to do is you want to do npm install, just to make sure that you install all the necessary node modules. Okay, I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do it again, but that's the first thing we want to do in JavaScript. And then all you got to do is say node cb.js. Once you do it, once you run it, it will use your API's keys and a secret to go in and basically get the information about the account. So as you could see, I am calling this thing right here. Basically, give me all the list of coins that you have. So that's all you're gonna get. So the output will look something like this. Once you run it, the output will look something like this, that what coins you have and how much and all that business. Okay, now let's look at the code, what it is exactly doing. If you had a chance to look at my other video on Coinbase Pro API, that's great. If you have not, I would suggest please go ahead and take a look at it, because the codes will be similar and the explanations will also be similar. In any case, so the first thing is, of course, we are importing the modules, the fetch modules and the crypto modules. And then the next thing is, this is just a base declarations of what the base API URL. This is the access key, secret, and the timestamp in seconds actually. And then what is the actual request path that we're going to call? So as you can see, we're going to call to get the list of accounts, and here you can actually paginate, how many, you can decide how many list of data that you want to get, hundreds or 200s, 10 or whatever. And then we don't have any body because we're only getting the information. We're not really sending anything. The method is get. And this is similar to Coinbase Pro. The message is constructed based on concatenating the timestamp, the method that you're going to use, the request path, and the body. In our case, we don't have a body, it's empty. And then out of this message, what you're going to do is you're going to have to encrypt that message. Well, how do you encrypt it? You first create the SHA-256 HMAC cryptographic secret key seed, and then using that you basically digest that message using hex. So that's the biggest difference. Is in Coinbase you use hex, in Coinbase Pro it was actually all base 64. So once you sign that message, the message is nothing but concatenation of all of these: timestamp, method, request path, and body. Then this is what you want to use as a signature. So our call is nothing but this guy right here, API URL's base plus whatever the request path you were doing, and the options are nothing but what are you passing in your header. In your header, we're just passing what type of method it is, and we wanted to accept JSON outputs, and the key, the signature again, the encrypted signature right here, and then the timestamp, and then here you pass the version of the API you want to use, which is, this is a little bit different than the Coinbase Pro API. So as I said, you can see that the date looks kind of like a little bit outdated, 2015-7/22, but there was reason behind it. I wanted to get you certain information like this thing right here, native balance, which has been taken off in the latest versions for whatever reason. That's the reason I'm using it. But again, feel free to use the latest version, or if you don't pass this at all, it's going to automatically use the latest version anyway. Okay, so what's going on here? Here I'm just calling that API. So base path slash this account limit 100, getting 100 list of tokens if there is any, and then the response turns into JSON, and then all I'm doing is basically parsing the JSON output, as you can see right here. So the JSON data is fairly complicated, and it's got a whole bunch of information, but the meat of the thing that we need is the data. There is actually a whole section for data, which is kind of repeats itself with the list of tokens. So that's kind of like an array of information. That's why I'm using a loop to run through those list of account information, and for each of the account I'm just basically checking, hey, if the balance is greater than 0, that means I have, that token is greater than 0. If and only if that's the time I'm interested to show what I'm holding, what's the balance of the token, and what's the actual balance in dollars. And this is the piece that was available in the previous version of the API. That's the reason I'm using it all the date. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, and then if there's an error, just catch the error. And same thing is happening. I'm going to go to the Python version now, right here. It's a similar thing. You're going to have to update your access key and the secret based on what you saved, and then you just run it. And though you run it right now on JavaScript, I'm going to go ahead and do cd ... and then go to Python, and then of course you would be just running Python cd.py. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now if there is certain software you have not installed, then you probably have to install the software using something like pip, that is the standard for Python. So for instance, if we don't have HMAC or HashLib or time or request, you can just do a pip install and then install these modules, and it's pretty straightforward. If you're a Python user, I don't think you probably don't even want to hear it because you know about all this. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just Google it, how to install using pip, and it'll tell you what to do. So anyway, I have the software, so I can just run it. So once you run it, what you would see after, of course, updating your keys and the secret, you would see something like this. So the output would look like this. It's exact same thing that you'd get the list of tokens that you have, and with their token value and then dollar value as well. So all right, so let's look at the code a little bit. The code is obviously would be similar. As you could see that initially you import whatever libraries that you need. You get your URL, your keys, and the secret. There's a timestamp in seconds, and then what's the base request path, which is basically getting the counts with a limit of 100 per list. And then you're basically going to call this class auth and pass your API and a secret, which is nothing but this is the class that is just extending the basic authentication from the request. And then of course we're initializing the keys and the secret, and once the API REST API call is made, of course, as you could see, we're constructing the message again using timestamp method, the actual path, and the body, which is, for our case, it's going to be empty right now. And then we're getting the signature similarly, same way, using the HMAX SHA-256 hash. We are using the key to hash that message and then returning the hex version of that digest. So that's your signature. And then you're passing the signature, the timestamp, your key, and again the same version as I mentioned in my previous JavaScript section. And then that's it. Then you're getting that, and then you're just making a call, basically using the get, using this URL that you're passing, and then if it's successful, then you're getting the JSON. And we're only interested in Python. Of course, it returns is as a dictionary if you're familiar with Python. So you're interested. Each of the sections in your JSON is kind of like a dictionary item. So you're interested on the data section because that's where we have all the list of accounts. And then since that's a array, you basically running through a loop. And similarly, we just basically saying in that account, for each of this account, we were interested in the balance, and for the balance there is an amount section inside the balance, and if that is greater than 0, then just print it. So it's straightforward. You're printing the currency with the colon. This is the formatting right here. With the colon, the amount of crypto you have for that specific cryptocurrency, and then of course the native balance for that in dollars. So it's a exact similar code, but this in Python. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about Java next. So I'm expanding Java, and you're going to expand source, main, Java. That's where we have all the source codes. Well, there's two things, as you can see right here. This is the main one, CB application, and it's a similar code actually. You just replace the secret and the access key, and then the rest of the code is similar. As you can see, it's the main program that basically just runs the Spring Boot command line, and then it's doing similar things. It is basically saying that it's going to be get method. This is the request path. Hey, I need to get the instance of the cryptography HMAC SHA-256. Using that, I'm going to initialize my cryptography, and then here's my message concatenating timestamp method, my get method, and then of course the request. And I don't have any body, so that's why I didn't put any, so it's going to be plus empty. And then the signature is nothing but using that SHA-256 HMAC, encrypt the message, and then I just need to get the hex encoding string out of that, and that's my signature right here. And in the header, of course, it's a JSON output. I'm passing my keys. There's the same date again. There's the method signature that I just got, the timestamp, and I'm just using this standard normal Spring Boot's API to get the request REST API call, and that will map into this interesting CB account class because I knew about the JSON output. So based on that, I actually created the exact format of the JSON that will be returned. Now, of course, the reason we would need Java 17, because Java 17 actually has a very interesting and easy way of creating like objects without adding a lot of codes of getters and setters, something called record, and that's why it's pretty useful. So as you can see, that this is my main record, which has two things: paginations and data. This is the data I was referring to, and that's nothing but a list of a whole bunch of information. And what is that data? The data holds ID, some name, some primary, some type, currency, balance, created date, updated date, resource plat, blah, 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 allow deposit, withdrawals, and native balance. Now, as you can see, balance itself is another object or another record, and pagination is another record. So here is a balance defined. It's nothing but an amount and a currency with a primitive string, a variable, and then pagination is nothing but all of these, a whole bunch of starting before, ending before, and limit, and order, and all that other business. So anyway, I mapped it this exact way that I'm going to get my JSON. So there was a little work to do, but it's already done for you, so you don't have to do anything. And this automatically nicely maps with the CB account, and that gets returned. And then I just basically check if it's a good status code. Then I'm interested in the data section, which is nothing but information about my list of accounts, and the similar thing, I'm getting the balance, checking if the balance is greater than 0, and then printing the currency and the amount of the crypto, and its dollar value. So exact similar code, but just in Java. How do you run that in Java? So you would go to the Java directory, this, and then you would do mvn for Maven. Hopefully you have the Maven installed properly, and then I do like clean and then test. If you do this, Maven clean and test, that will automatically run. It basically cleans it, compiles it, and would run it, and you would see an output something like this. So there is, I mean, with the run, it will also actually run this and it will show you the output. So in a similar output with all the list of cryptos you have and with its value and all that. Okay, so moving on, the next is C#. So C# would be similar, but the only difference is it's going to be in C# code. So you got two C# files. This is one CB application, that's kind of the main file. And again, you replace your secret and a key, and the rest of the stuff you can look it up. It's getting boring now, and of course I'm running short of time, but you will see it's exact similar code, passing exact similar header, trying to do the encryption and hashing the message. The only interesting piece in C# that I would like to mention is after you hash it and you get the hex string of it, by default, C# actually puts all the hexadecimals in uppercase, like A, B, C, D, E, F, if you know what hex is. It's from 0 to 10, then you have A, B, C, D, E, F. Now those are in uppercase, and for some reason, Coinbase accepts only the lowercase, otherwise it fusses. So I just had to add this to lower to make it lowercase. That's the only goofy thing about C#. Other than that, the rest of the stuff is similar. And again, it's the same thing that, I'm getting the data and balance and getting all the currencies, whatever the amount is greater than 0. And it's similarly, I had to map an object to be exactly same as the output of the JSON. So I got the cb account.c# file as well, and this is similar to, it's a little bit lengthier because, I don't know, C#, at least I can find a way to do it in an easier way. So it's a similar thing that you see that I have in Java, like in record. I have the main record CB account that points to pagination and data record, and then this is the whole data record. And the data record has all of these interesting things, and there's a balance in there, and that's where I define my balance. And then of course the pagination is defined right here. So that's about it. And how do you run the C#? You would go to the C# directory like this, and they just say .NET and then run, just like that. If you do it, hit enter, and you would see an output like this. So this is the run and all the list of currencies, and then its values and the dollar values with it. Well, I think that's about it with the video. Now let's just summarize this thing quick. So in short, the process is this: you open a free Coinbase account, then you create the API key, then you can decide which code you're going to use, JavaScript, Python, .NET, or Java. Based on that, you install whatever required software that you need, and make sure you have the software installed properly. And then of course you install Visual Studio Code. Then you check out the Coinbase code from JET, and then you would update your keys and your secret, and you just run the code. It's pretty as simple as that. The code is there for you. All you have to do is tinker around with it after updating the API keys and secret. That's all I have for today, and if this video has added value to your day-to-day skills, I will really appreciate if you can subscribe. And also, you can shoot me a message and let me know what are the things that you wanted to see. I will try my best to make videos out of those as well. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.